Baba.
Hey, hello.
Oh, okay.
Is my video on?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay.
Àwa mẹ́ta la wà ń bí. Èmi tí mo rò pé mo ti pẹ́ lénìí, mo wá wo pé time ti change.
Àwọn èèyàn wá dé.
Ọmọ mi, ọmọ wa jó, ọmọ ló yẹ ni. Bukky, madam ńkọ́?
Madam Wajare.
Yeah.
We join.
I'm doing fine, thank you.
How are you doing? How are the kids?
They are doing okay. Oh.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Inka.
Hi, báwo ni ọ̀rẹ́?
Fine, oh. How is everything?
Fine.
Bunmi Akinloye.
Day one. Fine, oh. Akújọ́ mẹ́ta.
Adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run.
Sorry for coming late. I had to attend to something.
You're not late, oh.
No.
I ṣe ń gádà náà ni, a ṣe pẹ́ mẹ́rin ni bẹ́ẹ̀.
Àbí o.
Èdè a máa pèlé wa ní pẹ̀dín.
Àmì o, àmì.
Àmì o.
Àgbàdúrà nìyẹn.
Olúwa rò fún wa lọ́wọ́ tí yóò dẹ̀yìn ní wa o. Ọmọ.
Bukky, how is my friend?
She's fine. Oh, she's fine. She'll join us soon.
Oh, she's not here today.
No, she'll join us. Now.
Okay.
Is she playing? Oh, put down, go comb your hair.
Ọ̀nì bá mi lọ́nà kí mi ṣe o. Ọmọ mo dúró dédé mi lọ o. Ọmọ mo dúró dédé mi lọ o. Ọ̀nì bá mi lọ́nà kí mi ṣe o. Ọmọ mo dúró dédé mi lọ o.
Oh, Dr. Lisa Agbakoba. Certain prison reform with Lamborghini.
Láti máa mú late comer nínú session wa yìí.
You should be collecting fine, no.
Àbí o, a ní pass bí eléyìí, àwọn èèyàn wọn lò ó kọ́ ni.
Here comes Lion, the Nigerian Lion.
Ta nìyẹn?
Kúnlé Ògìdìrì, Wells.
A máa mú àwọn. Are you sure? Are you sure it's the person?
Here comes the Kìnìún of Ìjẹ̀rò.
Kìnìún of Ìjẹ̀rò.
Class captain that came late.
Okay.
Show your face. Show your face.
My face.
Class captain that came late.
Ọlọ́mọ ló máa láyé. Ọlọ́mọ ló máa láyé o. Ọmọ Adíyẹ lọmọ mi. Adíyẹ lọmọ mi. Adíyẹ lọmọ mi. Adíyẹ lọmọ mi.
Ilé gbogbo ilé.
Hey, Dr. Adeloye.
Ẹdẹ o. Mo wà bí ẹwà o. Yinka, how are you?
I'm doing okay, oh my brother. How you day?
I'm cool, I'm fine.
That's good.
You're live, oh.
Ogedengbe.
Ogedengbe. Ogedengbe. Oh, yeah.
Baba.
Oh, yeah. Hey, baby. Do you remember that song?
Ogedengbe,
Hey, Bobo. Hey, baby. Hey, that's ya.
Ló ṣẹlẹ̀.
Ìwọ náà ló máa rántí àwọn orin yẹn.
Oh my gosh. Basically.
Àwọn èèyàn wá ń kọ́.
Interesting.
Everybody is fine, oh.
Wọ́n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń jí ni àwọn tán máa ṣojú wọn kán má gbàgbé full makeup lẹ́yìn bíi Kúnlé Ògìdì.
Kúnlé Ògìdì tá a jọ jáde láàárọ̀ yìí.
Ó ní 1 hour torí.
Ẹ kú dìde o, ẹ ṣé o.
A ní láti mọ àwọn tán wà online pẹ̀lú wa.
I think we have about 6 people.
6 people péré. Ẹ jẹ́ àlù aago ká invite wọn lórí WhatsApp. Torí mo ti kọ́kọ́ 110, ó dà pé èèyàn kan wà ń bẹ̀ then mo kúrò since ẹ pé mo check again mo rí pé we were too early.
10 o'clock.
Time change.
Okay, okay, that's about 4 o'clock.
Sorry, Central Standard Time ni mo so 11 la wà ń bí ń sì.
11 a.m.
Yep.
Dr. Adeloye, where are you based?
Adeloye is based in Ife. He's a lecturer in OAU.
Your internet is so stable. I love it. Like, so
He's on campus now.
Okay.
And now,
That's
about our university now.
Alpha and Omega University of the greatest J1, articulate power, ever militant J1.
Yes.
You're right, sir. You're borrow.
Yes.
Àgbà fún yín.
Baba,
àwọn ọmọkùn. We never sing kilograms. That great people that call the sing for you.
Me and you know talk that thing.
Kilogram, guys. Kilograms.
Don't be like.
That premier grammar school.
Azan. You look at that.
Rehabilitation Improvement Society.
For that no guru play and that good foundation.
Kilograms, you are. Yeah, that's my school. You want to talk about my school? Oh,
that's your daughter, Abby?
Yes. So they act like me, so I'm in trouble.
Oh, that's serious.
I'm happy you know you're in trouble. Now you can appreciate what daddy went through.
But it's true, I know.
We are many on this table.
Eh?
There are many on this table.
Hey, wow.
I have two that ask me that question every authority. If you say don't do something, in the next 1 year, if they see you do it, they will go back to that topic and say that, but you asked us not to do this thing. Why are you doing it?
Yes. Oh, in fact, my last one is 5. She can ask you why and make you actually question yourself. Yep. And she's so quiet. She's very subtle. She's very ladylike. She would just come to you and be like, why? So
you cannot tell them why. You cannot tell them that because I'm your father or I'm your mother.
No, she will never take that answer. And she won't take because I said so. No.
Wow.
So why should you say so? Isn't that considered a bullying? Isn't that bullying when you say that it's because you said so? Why don't you have an explanation for your action? And don't you think this is wrong? Yeah.
What we could not say to our parents.
Yeah. Right now, we're not having a party. If you want to listen to something, you know. You're telling me sorry and listening to sorry. Do you want to really be sorry?
I don't remember this Samuel Johnson. How come? Every time I see his name, I'll be like, who's this guy?
Who is that?
I remember him. Oh, your face don't change. I remember you now. I remember you.
How are you doing?
Good.
It's a pleasure to be part of you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've been trying to.
I remember now. Hello,
everyone. Johnson, Olariwaju Samuel.
You, Samuel.
It was quiet.
Hey, yeah, my brother.
It's a pleasure, you know, Mr.
I remember him.
I'm fine.
Wow, his face has changed.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, oh.
Yeah.
All the Johnsons are very quiet people.
And you're allowed to wait till you they cover.
Eh?
Wait till you they cover.
Oh, now my daughter's like.
I know.
Tunde,
Hey, Badeloye.
How now?
Fine.
I know.
You know, well done. Oh. I cite
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Who is Femi? Is it
It's Moradeyo. It's Moradeyo here.
Oh.
Sorry,
Moradeyo.
I'm using the home desktop, so that's the name on it. Sorry about that.
So where is your face? We need to see your face.
Yinka, why are you bullying everybody now?
So I want to see everybody's faces for you.
I'm going to change my name for identity.
Like I'm talking to an egungun.
Egungun on the Egungun.
Google, be careful.
I think I changed it somewhere to.
Okay, I'm also going to hide my face.
Oh yeah,
No. You can. I will show my face.
Yeah, conference to culture Google
This
in
is
Malang.
this is Moradeyo.
Google to do what
Moradeyo.
Now, area boy go
The
to
services.
police go slap you.
Moradeyo, ọ̀rẹ́ mi.
ọ̀rẹ́ mi àtàtà.
Good to see your face.
Johnson Olarewaju Samuel. Can I
To
see
be
your
honest,
face,
I
please,
can't
sir?
remember that face.
I remember his face. I remember him now.
What class were you?
I can't
attention
remember.
is on you today.
Johnson, the camera is so that because people
Let us see you properly.
Yeah, we're seeing your stomach here.
It's not.
exactly. So, I remember him now. He was very quiet back in the day, and he was always
To
smiling.
be honest, I can't remember him.
Yeah, go. I'm online.
He's not that quiet, so we chased the same girl, but he won.
Oh my
Who is that?
God.
Who is that? Who is that, please?
Who was the girl? Who was the girl?
Mama Kuba mi to Ọlọ́run.
Oh, by cooking. Your sin of 25 years ago has been forgiven. Don't worry.
So
Who is that, please?
which class was Johnson?
When it comes to chasing woman, class doesn't matter.
We are not talking about chasing
Who
woman.
is that,
Stop
please?
chasing woman. It's Big Bear Owolabi. No,
Go.
Hello.
Go.
Hello.
Son.
Big Bear Owolabi. I don't know if you know me.
Let him see
You
your
mean?
face. Maybe he can recollect.
Bimpe.
Maybe. Yes.
Bimpe that lives at Tukalafia.
What are they doing? How now?
Pardon me
I don't need
forever.
to show my face anymore.
You don't need to show your face. I know. No?
Okay, I will hide it again.
Bumi, can you try? Do you have your section ready?
Okay, wait. Go.
Yes, I do.
Go.
Can you try to share so that we can? Okay.
Don't disturb me.
This shall be ready. It's okay.
Hey, Olubumi. I can see her face.
I can see
Moradeyo.
Yes.
What's up?
nothing much, my darling. How are you?
Bumi was absolutely the most quiet person I said, without doubt.
Honestly.
You can't match that. She was the most quiet person.
Yeah.
Very gentle. She was a dove, man. Bumi, where is your friend? Her last name was Olowo Kere back in the day. Alright, Dudubai. Her last name was Olowo Kere. You and her were like.
Olamide.
She's on the platform, I guess.
She's in Lagos.
She's on the platform. She's on the platform.
She's on the platform.
Okay.
She's not just been converted to come on to master classes.
But why are you asking for Lamide?
It's catching up on old friends.
Oh, you failed on Lamide's matter 26 years ago. Let it go. No second chance.
Sorry, Kolawole, don't mind them.
Oh my goodness.
I need to remember Johnson's face. I'm still trying to. I'm very good with faces.
It took me a minute to remember, but I
to be honest, I can't remember. Was it science class?
Sincerely, it's just few of us I can't remember their face nor their name. That's this Bimpe.
Where is science class?
Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn shirt níbi pé wọ̀ lé ni.
Wọ́n ní tẹ̀lé ẹ kiri o.
Oh my goodness.
Wọ́n ní tẹ̀lé. Bí Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn. Ó ṣe jàre. Mo ní o ṣe fẹ́ ṣe ojú mi ní ẹ ṣó àwọn tébù ti dìlọ́ ìsàmẹ́tẹ̀kùn.
You want to deny us of seeing your pretty face?
Oh my gosh. Okay, ẹ jẹ́ ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ o.
Okay.
Baba stockbroker, Nigeria Stock Exchange, Sanza. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò.
Ayọ̀dèjì ẹ káàbọ̀.
Ọwọ́ méjì fèèyàn kan.
Ayọ̀dèjì ó lètò.
Kò gbọ́ ẹ o. Yínká. Rachel Johnson.
I think we have goofed around enough. It's
Yínká is still here. She's on mute. Okay.
I have to mute. I need to take care of some stuff.
Okay.
Can you
Tommy, Tommy Olawe Ojo.
Toby,
come,
exactly.
come.
Hey, Toby.
Come.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
Hi.
Hello, Tommy.
Hey, look at you. Inka. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good too.
Our family in call.
I'm not here, no.
Ah,
those girls.
Dr. Akinola Agbajo.
Dr. Akinola no more by pẹ̀lú.
Torí Ọlọ́run, ta ló fẹ́ máa jealous mi?
Pẹ̀lú skin.
Doctors, I greet fellow doctors. Dr. Akinola.
How are we?
Okay, BTS.
Dr. Akinola, I greet you. Dr. Fola, I greet you.
Hey.
Show your face.
Bunmi, the screen you are sharing is
Bunmi,
not
how
the
are you?
presentation. You are sharing the
Bookie.
actual.
Bunmi is looking pinky.
You need to, yeah.
And J1.
We have only 5 doctors in this room.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We were seeing the presentation before, but then it went away.
So Milala.
Hey. Okay.
Okay, so quick one. I'm not gonna be around for this whole event.
Why?
Wow. Facilitate. I need to go somewhere. So we are already live, but then I'm going to transfer the hosting rights to Bunmi now.
Okay.
Hey Joe, cartoon. I'm not cartoon. No.
Okay.
What's the buy? Bunmi? Yes. It's good now.
Yeah.
I think we should mute.
Okay.
Yeah, we should mute everybody.
No, don't mute me. Oh.
Wait, I'm going to. I'll mute
Why are you
everybody.
turned upside down?
I'll mute everybody and unmute just the facilitator, and anybody else can just unmute themselves. I will mute Kulo Gidi and the facilitator. Where's the lady?
God bless you.
Yes, sir.
Please mute Buki Ogade. Mute him completely.
I have muted myself. Thank you.
Okay. Bunmi, the floor is yours, please.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here again. The last time we were here, we had a very serious discussion on child discipline. So I decided that we should just do something on it today. There are things, what I'm going to say here, there are things we've been doing before. They are not new to us. But you know, when things are being put in the open, you are discussing with another person, there are some aspects of it that you have probably not taken note of that you might need to pay attention to. So I'm going to be talking on the strategies for effective discipline. Okay. So what do I mean by child discipline? Okay, it's child discipline could be termed as showing love to your child or any child that is being disciplined in the first place. So discipline is the second most important thing a parent can give a child. Love is the first. So if you love your child, you would definitely discipline your child. The most important aspect of discipline is setting limits and following through with consequences. Now, when those limits are, especially when those limits are breached, but this seems to be a very difficult thing amongst us because it's sometimes we love our children so much, we don't want to offend them. We feel, oh, let me not offend. I won't say anything now. I'll let it pass. Discipline is training that corrects the mind and the heart. Children need it constantly. It's based on love and can be conveyed by reasoning. Discipline needs to take the form of providing a strong support for the child. It's benevolent, not punitive. So when we are disciplining our children, we are training them. We're actually training them. We're actually guiding them in the right direction. We have acceptable behavior. We have positive behaviors that we want our children to emulate. So we want them to do that. They don't just do it automatically. They have their own will. We need to help them channel their will towards doing the right thing. The importance of discipline. Children thrive best in atmosphere of love, undergirded by reasonable, consistent discipline. In a day of widespread drug usage, immorality, the kind of world we are now, civil disobedience, vandalism, violence, internet fraud, and so on and so forth, endless vices in our community now. We must not depend on hope and luck to fashion the critical attitudes we value in our children. The method was used in previous generations, and the outcome we can see is quite discouraging. Permissiveness has not just been a failure, but a disaster. Even the force and violence that some of our parents used still ended up being a disaster. So how do we handle our own children? Discipline needs to be directed towards helping a child to develop. The only discipline worth having, and that is self-discipline. So if parents are too harsh, the child will learn little more than ways to circumvent their rules. I'm sure a lot of us could identify with that. Your parents give you set rules, strict rules, you find a way of beating it. Even in organizations, we have a way of beating rules, strict rules and all that. So if we are too harsh with our children too, the same thing happens to them. So if a child is told why he must do so and is helped to control and guide his own feelings and actions, he will develop strength and character himself. So how should we discipline our children? Some think that disciplining their children involves merely speaking to them in harsh, threatening tones, scold them, insult them, or even beat them. In all we do, we should avoid provoking our children. Rather, we should be gentle, instructing with mildness, while recognizing the need for firmness. At times, reasoning is not enough to do what we want. It's not just enough. Different children require different kinds of discipline. We all know how our children are. You have some of us have 3, 4 children. We have some of them that are strong-willed. We have some of them that whatever you tell them to do, easily, you can easily get to them. But we have some of them that are really challenging us. Okay, so some are not corrected by mere words. For them, occasional punishment administered for disobedience may be life-saving. A child should understand why he's being punished. So we need to make our children understand why they are being punished. Punishment cannot be interchanged with discipline. When we administer punishment, punishment is actually supposed to help the child understand the consequences of misbehavior. Now, angry whippings or severe beatings can bruise or injure a child, and that is when discipline or punishment has become an abuse. When should discipline start? Discipline in the early months. It's during the early months that the root of good social behavior, good discipline is laid. So mothers' discipline with children starts from us. A baby is the most selfish creature alive because I'm sure a lot of us can identify with this, because the world revolves around him. He cannot understand that other people have needs and desires and also needs to be satisfied. So a child who is treated with immediate loving response to his infant need has learned to laugh and smile a lot, to respond to care and affection, which will attract people to him. This kind of child has been taught to help other people like him. Ready response to child's need does not produce the traditionally spoiled child, contrary to all beliefs. Rather, it produces a contented child who is secure in his environment. So, you know, when we're growing up, they say when you immediately attend to the need of a child, that means that the child, you are trying to spoil the child, especially when the child is still a baby. But the reality is that a child that is being attended to on time will not feel insecure. When a child is made to scream his way to before he could be satisfied, he has been trained to be afraid, insecure, and inhuman. We have different types of discipline. We have the positive discipline. And what do I mean by positive discipline? It's based on praise and encouragement. So instead of focusing on punishment, parents keep making discipline about teaching. So we need to make discipline about teaching, not on punishment. Oh, you've done this. This is what I will do to you. Rather, we should actually teach the child the right behavior. You have done this. This is how to do it. It's better that way. So parents need to teach problem-solving skills and work with their child to develop solutions. Positive discipline uses family meetings and an authoritative approach to addressing behavior problems. So you need to talk to your children, find out why they are doing what they are doing, not focus on the punishment for what they are doing. Sometimes we punish children because we expect them to know. But if you actually find out, you discover that they don't actually know what exactly to do. They are just acting on their own impulses at that moment. So many times we need to tell them what to do and how they could do it. The second one is gentle discipline, which focuses on preventing problems. Redirection is often used to steer kids away from bad behavior. Kids are given consequences, but gentle discipline isn't about instilling shame. It's not about making your child ashamed of what he has done, but redirecting that child's behavior. There are consequences for every behavior. I hope we know that. So a child should know the consequence of any behavior. If a child is playing with a socket now, the child should know that playing with that socket is dangerous. So we need to tell the child the reason why that socket is a no-go area. So parents often use humor and should use humor and distraction, especially for the toddlers. We can distract them playfully and redirect them from whatever it is that they are doing that is not acceptable at that time. The focus of gentle discipline is about parents managing their own emotions while addressing a child's misbehavior. We need to work on our own emotions while handling our children. So many times we get angry. You know, children study us. They know what they can do to make us happy. They know what they can do to make us angry, to smile or frown. And you know, when they study us, they know that the day they want to get your attention, they will use that technique of probably getting you angry so that you can notice them. So we need to work on our emotions, especially when handling children, when trying to discipline them. Then we also have boundary-based discipline, which focuses on setting limits and making the rules clear upfront. So you tell your child, if you do this, this is what you get. If you do this, these are the consequences of your actions. So kids are often given choices and there are clear consequences for misbehavior. It's actually, sometimes you give the child consequences and the child does the negative one. Don't, because you have laid down the rules. Okay, if you do this, this is what you get in the positive way. If you do this, this is what you get in the negative way. When the child does the negative act, the child should receive the consequence of a negative act. There should be clear consequences for misbehavior, such as logical consequences or natural consequences. Allow the child to face those consequences. so that the child can learn. Then we also have behavior modification, which focuses on shaping behavior. It focuses on positive and negative consequences. Good behavior is reinforced with praise and rewards. Misbehavior is discouraged through the use of ignoring and negative consequences like loss of privileges and so many other things, timeouts, and so many other things that you can use to, uh, to reinforce punishment, or rather discipline. What are the discipline strategies that we have? A good discipline strategy begins with the adult or parents. Parents' self-discipline. The parents also need to work on their own conduct in order to effect a positive behavior in their kids. So we need to be consistent and be firm. When you say, if you do that, I will do this, make sure that you do whatever you say you will do. Because when you let it pass, the child will not take you serious. We need to work on our own behavior. We need to develop a good self conduct, because we are laying good examples for our children. Your word should be your word. The moment you are breaking your word, you're also teaching your children to break their word. When they promise you something, they don't fulfill it because they see you doing that to them. So we also need to work on that so that our children can learn from us. Now, how do we differentiate when a child is naughty and when his behavior is a sign of emotional distress rooted in insecure feelings? When your child shows one particular naughty behavior in which he persists, while not in any way being upset in other areas, chances are that the child is playing up. Just like I said earlier, children know when to get your attention. They know that when they're happy and doing whatever you want them to do, you don't notice them. They want that attention, they offend you, they get your attention. So at that point, the child is being naughty. However, a child could actually be in an emotional state that is a negative emotional state. The child being cranky, especially for babies, for toddlers. The child could be cranky and so many other things are going on. You need to understand what exactly is happening to that child before administering your style of strategies of discipline so that you will not injure the child. We usually know what to do, so why isn't it working? Maybe we pay too much attention to what the child is doing and not enough on why he's doing it. Every action is a communication. So we need to understand why the child is acting up at this period. We need to know why our child is acting up. We need to know whether it's something we need to really focus or pay too much attention on, or probably the child is just playing up. So we need to be able to determine that. And that's the reason why we shouldn't focus on the offense. We should focus on why the child is doing what he's doing. Limited command over knowledge, especially in the early years, often causes frustration. That's for toddlers. For kids, it makes them resort to temper tantrums. They stamp their feet, roll on the floor, open all their mouths, and cry. So what do we do when they are doing all this? When a child the day the child exhibits a good behavior, you should use praise. Tell the child, oh, that's good, you are doing fine. And when the child sees that, okay, the day I cry, I don't get the high five, I don't get the thumbs up, the day I behave well, I get it, the child's behavior is being shaped. When the toddler seems determined to impose his will, he is also eager to please. So we should leverage on this by ensuring that we praise them whenever they exhibit the desired behavior. They want to please you. They want you to notice them. They want to see you show that love all the time. Okay? So the wish for approval is parents' most reliable ally in the process of socializing the child. So at this stage, we should make sure we use our praise reward mechanism so that when the child is doing good, we use that praise. That means that every aspect of the child, we need to pay attention. I had to tell somebody, I said, raising children is a full-time business because you need to, at every point in time, note what the child is trying to do, what the child is feeling. You can't do that when you're busy. You can't do that when you're distracted. You need to focus on that child. So it's a full-time business. It's an exuberant age, the toddler's life, a time of wonder, exploration, and discovery. And most of all, when your child delights in his growing personal mystery. So he finds out he can make things happen, including making his parents smile or frown. It's a time we need to become their play partners, allowing them to remain in command, help them put their commands into words, support them by listening and responding to their words, have patience with their endless requests. We need to be patient with them. While we are trying to shape good behavior, we need to be extremely patient with children. We also need to be consistent. This is very important. Our no must remain no. You cannot say no to a particular behavior one day and let it pass on the other day. It's also important for parents to work in agreement as to what is allowed and what's not. So here the parents need to agree, the father and the mother, where we have the two of them raising the child. It's not that the mom will agree to something and the father will disagree. When the child notices that, the child will be pitching you against each other. So you need to agree on how, what is an acceptable behavior in this family, what is an unacceptable behavior, so that the child will be able to train this child in the right way. Conflicting ideas can actually confuse children. It can also make them not to actually pick up the right behavior we want them to do. So once a decision has been reached, it must be kept to it. It is also bad for a child if he finds he can play one adult off against another. If he can get his father to allow what his mother has refused or vice versa, he will be able to provoke family arguments about him. So for children in the school age children, what are the effective discipline strategies for them? Okay, a good discipline plan should include positive reinforcement as well as negative consequences. Reinforce the good behavior with praise and privileges, and provide negative consequence when your child breaks the rule. Below, here are some of the discipline strategies for school age kids. I've said that before. Praise good behavior in your child. Praise, let them know that you see them doing good. It's very important. Let them know that you are seeing that good behavior. You know, it's even we as adults, where we are working, some of us complain, oh, they are not seeing my efforts, they are not seeing that. So we should also not realize that our children are also feeling this. When I do good, actually, nobody even sees it. It's only when I do the negative thing that I get the attention. So we should endeavor to always praise good behavior. Now, we don't focus on the result, we focus on the effort of that good behavior. Okay, when a child gets 100% in math, for example, and we say, oh, you got 100, that's not a very advisable way to go about it. Rather, you have made good effort. So we need to praise their good efforts. We need to reinforce that with praise. Place your child in timeout. When a child has done something wrong for school age, I mean between 6, 7, 8, you can have a naughty corner in your house where you will ask them, go and stand in that naughty corner for some time. Okay? Inflicting physical pain. Okay, we'll still talk about that. Let me just go on. Okay, so timeout can be a good consequence when your child needs to cool off or when he or she is refusing to follow instructions. So naughty corners in your home could come in very handy. Then we can use what we call the grandma's rule of discipline. A subtle change in the way you word your phrases turn a consequence into a reward. So rather than saying, you can't ride your bike because your room is a mess, you say, you can ride your bike as soon as your room is clean. So the child knows that before I can ride this bike, my room has to be clean. So automatically he cleans up because he wants to ride the bike. So we need to teach that so that the child will learn that he can earn privileges by making good choices. We need to also provide logical consequences, what I call logical consequences. Okay, we need to use consequences that are directly related to the child's offense. Now, if your child refuses to get off the cartoon and do his homework, then you have the right to switch off the TV until the child is able to complete his homework. Okay, so those are consequences that are directly related to privileges. So you can use such to train the child. Then allow for natural consequences. Let your child face the consequence of her choices when it's safe to do so, only when it's safe to do so. Okay, not that when a child wants to jump or from a high, you will fall down and break your hand, and then you leave the child and the child falls down and actually breaks the hand. It's not a good, it's not a safe way to do. But if a child refuses to unpack his bag, maybe the night before, when he returns from school, and the next day, you can decide not to serve lunch and pack any lunch for him because he has refused to do what he's supposed to do. So if he goes hungry that day, it won't kill him. He can remember that next time I will always unpack my bag so that I can get lunch the next day. A one meaningful form of discipline to make the child feel the unpleasant consequences of wrong behavior is when a child makes a mess, you ask the child to clean it up. Those are other consequences. A child can be made to apologize for treating somebody unfairly. Those are other ways, natural consequences of behavior. And the last one is to create a token economy. Establish a token economy system that allows the child to earn chips or tokens for good behavior. Just put a reward, then allow the child to exchange tokens for privileges. Okay, so you can actually say, oh, we are going out this weekend, probably we are having a day out this weekend, and the child is acting up. So you can actually use that as a token economy system. Allow the child to earn that outing by doing what you want the child to do. Okay, so how do we handle our preteens? This is also a very delicate age. You know, there are some, as a child grows older, we need to upgrade on our system of discipline because they outgrow discipline at a point. The one you will give to a toddler, you can't give to a school age. And what you give to a school age, you can't give to, even though they are interwoven in so many ways, but you need to also differentiate the kind of discipline you will give to each level of growth. Okay, so it's important to make sure your discipline strategies match your child's needs. When your child breaks rules or misbehaves, use discipline strategies that will teach him to make better choices in future. Okay, so for the preteens age, the first thing I said here is to create a behavior contract. Outline what he needs to do to earn and keep extra privileges. If he wants a fast smartphone, for example, explain how he could show you when he's ready for that responsibility. Okay, mind you, when we are telling our children, come first in class so that you can get this, it's actually not very appropriate. Rather, we should enforce a good behavior, exchange privileges for good behavior rather than asking your child. Of course, it's good for a child to come first in class, but you know, we don't stress out the child by using privileges to earn a good result in class. Okay, so you can actually write down the behaviors you need to see from the child, such as getting his chores done on time, putting away his other electronics without arguing, things that he can do around to build him up in life. And you know, discipline is geared towards making the child independent. So we should also note that. Okay, the second one is taking away privileges. When your child misbehaves, remove a meaningful privilege. You can take away the iPad, the computer games, time with the TV. Those are the things that children really, even toys. Okay, removing those privileges, maintain your authority and send a message that privileges must be earned. So when you remove those privileges, they know that they need to earn those privileges. Please note, denial of privilege for a time in order to derive, uh, sorry, denying a child of food is not punishment. It is abuse. So we shouldn't say, oh, because you didn't do this today, you are not going to eat. I see it as an abuse. A child shouldn't be denied of food. It shouldn't be used as punishment for a child. Denial of privileges for a time in order to it helps to drive home the needed lesson. Reward a good behavior. A simple reward system can be key to helping your child stay motivated. So you need to also reward good behavior. Even at this stage of their lives, they still need to be rewarded for good behavior. A 9-year-old still needs approval from you. Okay, so you need to, we can also, their own hearts would have probably our reward system would have graduated by an allowance, okay, for doing house chores. Please don't make it a consistent thing. Before your child says, okay, mommy, you have to, daddy, you have to pay me before I do the house chores. So you can probably increase the allowance, okay? Or probably allow the child time with friends and all that, going out to see a friend with a movie, going out to see a movie with a friend. And if the child is able to do what you want that child to do at that time, okay, or create a token economy system that helps the child to practice a new behavior. So we can also use a reward system to help the child develop a good behavior. We need to provide pre-teaching. Okay, it's likely that your child will start doing more things on her own at this point. So before you send that child into a new situation, talk about the rules. Okay, now that you are this age, these are the things you should be doing now. So the child should know the rules. When you break the rules, these are the consequences. Okay, so talk about the rules, talk about your expectations. Spend time reviewing how the child might handle specific problems that could arise during those periods. So we need to also put that in mind. Engage in problem solving. So rather than tell the child what to do, problem solve with that child. Let the child figure out how to do things. Okay, point out a problem, ask for the child's input by saying, you can say, you keep forgetting your sneakers. You keep forgetting to wash your socks every day. Things like that. Okay, what can we do to make you remember? You keep forgetting to bring out your lunch bag from your lunch pack from your bag. What can we do to help you to remember? So allow the child to bring up suggestions of what to do, okay, to help that child out at that moment. Now, if the child weighs in the possible solution, that child is likely to be more motivated to improve his or her behavior. And then the last one is for this group is allow for natural consequences. Step aside and let your child make some mistakes. Allow the child to face the natural consequences of his or her behavior. So rather than remind that child repeatedly to probably wash his socks, allow the child to wear dirty socks to school and probably come back with people covering their noses and all that. The child will, next time the child will adjust and do the right thing. Okay, now for our teenagers, how do we handle them? The teenage years is the most sensitive of all. This is the time the child is trying to rediscover themselves. This is the time they feel they are more like adults. This is the time they feel, oh, why are my parents shouting at me and all that? So it's a time we also need to watch how we discipline them. Just because they have outgrown timeouts, because most of them will actually be happy if they got sent to their rooms at that time. They want to be alone. They want to be by themselves. They rather prefer to be with their friends than to be with parents. Okay, so it doesn't mean that we can't instill effective consequences, but it's important to find consequences that will teach life lessons at this stage of their life. Okay, here are some things that I've highlighted that you can do. You can remove electronics. You know, when they stay in their rooms like that on their own, they are with their phones, chatting all the way with their friends. Some of these children can do it from morning till night. They don't get tired of doing that. So when you take that kind of privilege away from the child, laptops, screen time, they know that they have done something wrong. They need to adjust. Okay, so when you restrict them from phone privileges, it can be an effective consequence. It can be an effective consequence. Then taking away time with friends. You know, I said they love being with their friends. They enjoy the company of their friends more than they would rather be with their family. It's the age. It's not as if they don't love you. It's not as if they don't want their families, but that is the age. It comes with the age. So if your teen's misbehavior involves friends, take away their right to see that friend for a while. Ground that child for a few days or cancel special weekend plans. You know, break that child from bodies, a break from bodies, from their friends, may remind them that they need to make better choices next time. Of course, if you ground them and make them stay with you 24/7, you will see that the child will adjust because they will want to be with their friends. Okay, then for teenagers, you also need to tighten the rule. If your teen violates the rule, he may be showing you that he can't handle freedom you are giving him. So tighten the rule by giving him an earlier curfew, reducing the amount of time he spends with the electronics, with TV, you know, tighten the rule, make the child responsible for his or her actions. Have your teen perform an act of restriction, of restitution, I mean. If your teenager's behavior hurts someone else, create a plan to make amends. I remember I watched a, a, a video of Steve Harvey interviewing a parent. The child actually got involved in bullying another child. So the father has been saving an amount of money to buy something for the child or do some shopping. So rather than use that money for that child, he actually asked that child that bullied another child to go to the store, get things for the child she bullied, and go and apologize. It's actually a good way of making your child see the consequence of what that child has done. Now, a child that has gone through that will definitely not get involved in bullying other kids again. Okay, so fixing something a child breaks, ask the child to repair it. Your child breaks uh, something that you feel, oh, the child could repair, you can ask the child to repair. Or you can ask, especially if it's something that the child couldn't afford, like a TV, for instance, you can ask the child to do extra chores to pay and repair the stuff. So you can actually be creative in things that you ask your children to do in order to pay for whatever act they have, to restitute for whatever act they have performed. Okay. Then you also need to help them remind them to accept responsibility for their behavior. When you do this, they take ownership of their behavior. Allow your teens to face natural consequences. There are natural consequences that can be best teachers in certain situations. There are some extreme natural consequences, especially for children getting pregnant in secondary schools and all that, teenagers getting pregnant and all that. Those are extreme consequences. But I'm sure we won't want our child to get to this stage. So we need to start early so that we can help them to imbibe that good behavior. So allow them to face natural consequences. It can be the best teachers in certain situations. It's also important to make sure that natural consequences will really teach your teen a life lesson. If so, back off and let your teen face the consequences for his choices. Only with situations that we feel will not mar them for life. Okay, just like the example of the teenage pregnancy that I gave, we can't leave them and allow them, okay, so when you get pregnant, your eyes will open. No, we can't do that. We need to watch that. We need to guide them. We need to help them out. Okay, we are going to discuss about that later. Okay, we provide logical consequences. So if your teen breaks something, make him pay or fix it. If he's irresponsible with the car, take away his driving privileges. Create consequences that are directly tied to the poor choices your teen makes. So make sure that you attach a consequence to any ill misbehavior. If you do that, it doesn't mean you hate them. You are showing them love by helping to guide them. Okay, assign extra responsibilities. Take away your things until he's when you take away privileges like that, you do that until the child completes extra chores or performs certain tasks. When he shows that he can be responsible, he can earn his privilege back. So you don't take it away forever. Just take it away for some time until you see the good behavior. When the child begins to exhibit the good behavior, then you return the privilege. Now the child knows that, okay, because I have done this, I have earned this. So when we do all this, the child learns that the wisdom of sticking to the right principles. Corporal punishment. Okay, this we all went through this. We all went through corporal punishment. And what do I mean by corporal punishment? It is any punishment in which physical force is used instead to cause some degree of pain or discomfort. Okay, we have physical, like when you use a whip, a stick, a belt. A lot of us have experienced this. Okay, shoe, wooden spoon, and anything that you can, especially women, you can throw your pot at the child. You know, when we're growing up, our mothers did that, throw their pots and pans at you, hit you with the shoe and all that. Then we also have non-physical forms of corporal punishment. When you belittle the child, when you humiliate the child, when you threaten, you scare, you ridicule the child. Those are emotional, we call it emotional abuse. Okay. Please note that discipline is not equal to punishment. I have said that earlier. I'm also repeating that because we are talking about corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is not the answer indeed. The child who suffers corporal punishment for aggressive behavior will get more aggressive. So when we use our cane, belt, and all the likes, the child gets more aggressive. He is hit at, so he hits back. It seems to him to be normal because the child feels, oh, if I hit somebody, somebody hits me back. So the child believes that, okay, when I'm hit, I need to fight back. And the child becomes aggressive. He is never or only very rarely smart. He is less likely to use violence himself. Okay, so when our kids drive us to such pitch that only a smack will relieve the situation, it does not help the child. But it will relieve the parents. And what helps the parents is good for the child. However, to make it effective, the smack should be administered in the heat of the moment so that the child will feel it for what it was. Love shown in the reverse. So if we actually have to hit our children at all, it has to be at that point when they did that thing. Not the kind of, I actually experienced that when I was growing up. You would have done something and you know that you are not at peace until you receive that cane. It might be 2-3 days later, you will still be punished for that thing. That is actually a wrong way of administering corporal punishment. Corporal punishment should be done immediately. Immediately you see the child do it, administer what you want to administer. And I would say here that when we also want to hit our children, or rather, let me use smack because hitting is not allowed. when we want to smack our children, we should not use weapons. By weapons, I mean stick, belt, shoe, wooden spoon, and the like. We should probably get a cane, this atori, not the horse whip, and then we should just probably hit them in the hand and, well, a smack. We should avoid hitting them in faces. They are giving them a slap, all those backhand slap. Those ones are not good. They are not good for children. Physically, they are not good. Plant beating seems to the child to be unloving and cold. That sort of punishment never leads to good discipline. A child who is made to wait till his father comes home in the evening so that he can be smacked for an offense he committed in the morning will not understand why he's being punished. A lot of us also experience that. Jeki Baba Edelale, you will see. Okay, so all those things, well, he was used to train us, but of course, we will know deep inside us that they were actually not what helped us out. Okay, so the child will adjust will just learn to fear the father and avoid him, and may become sly and secretive about his behavior rather than open and free as he should be or he could be. Please note, the use of cane should not exceed the age of 10. Okay, when we want to beat our children, you should know that the older they get, the more beating becomes an abuse. So when your child has reached a certain age, then I think words. So we need to learn to use these words when they were smaller so that we won't need to use the cane when they are older. Conflict between values and discipline. I am not trying to probably take away our culture, but life is about development. We don't stick to things in the past. We try and upgrade and improve on what has been so that we can get a better result. And that is why some of the things we do before, we do, just like a computer is being upgraded often and often, things like this too should be done to our children. Okay? Developing respect for parents is critical factor in child management. We need to teach our children to respect and be responsible. It is important that the child respects his parents, not for the purpose of satisfying their egos, but because the child's relationship with his parents provide the basis for his attitude towards other people. So at the point when the child is growing, we need to earn that respect from our children. We need to teach them to respect. We need to teach them to take responsibility. Respect for parents must be maintained in child's early years. When a child can successfully defy his parents during his first 15 years, stubbornly flaunting their authorities, then to him, his parents are not deserving of his respect. Sure, we don't want that to happen. A parent who never wins, or who is too weak, or too tired, or too busy to enforce value in his child is making a costly mistake that will come to haunt him during the child's adolescent years. So we shouldn't allow our children to have their way at all times, especially when we know that they are doing something wrong. Any unsettled matter during the childhood years is likely to fester and erupt during adolescence. And at that point, believe me, it's very, very difficult to start adjusting or teaching them some of those things at that point. Okay, the best opportunity to communicate often occurs after punishment. Parental warmth after punishment is essential and demonstrates to the child that it was his behavior and not the child himself that parents rejected. Discipline is directed as objectionable behavior, and the child will accept his consequences without settlement. So we should show love. Make sure that the child knows that you are not being punished because I don't like you. You are being punished because you did so and so. Okay, so we also need to control without nagging. Yelling and nagging, especially among us women, can become a habit and ineffectual. Okay, so you wonder so many times you see the woman shouting and shouting, and the child is just looking that, oh, mommy has started again. She has started yelling. Okay, so instead of allowing our child to start treating us like that, we must recognize that the most successful techniques of control are those which manipulate something important to the child. Make sure every bad behavior comes with consequences. Reward must be granted immediately after a positive behavior. Reward might not necessarily be material things. It could be praise, acknowledgement, a hug, a high five, and the like. Okay? Then we should know when to draw the line. We need to let the kids know that some boundaries are negotiable. They are fixed. Okay, they are not, there are some boundaries that are not negotiable. They are fixed and not subject to discussion. However, may need flexibility on occasion. A child should have the right to express himself and voice dissent in an agreeable fashion. But he also needs to be willing, once an issue has been had fairly, to accept decision of parents. Listening is very important. If your child knows that he has had a fair hearing, he will be more apt to accept boundaries you lay down than if he feels his feelings and thoughts don't count. Okay, so a child should have the right to express himself, voice out in an agreeable fashion. Don't allow your child to be using words that are not acceptable. Yes, they can say, oh, mommy, I don't like this. This is what you did. Daddy, you are not being fair. Okay, but not using words that are not acceptable. So you should try and define acceptable and non-acceptable words with your children so that when they are disagreeing with you, they won't use those words with you, even with their siblings. Okay, listening is important. If your child knows that he has a fair hearing, he will be more apt to accept the boundaries you lay than if he feels his feelings and thoughts don't count. Okay, so this is actually the last part of this presentation. I'm going to be talking about sex education. Okay, so please permit me to use some words here because they are very important when we are talking to our children. Okay, sex education is the best approach to sex education is that one begins in the early childhood and extends through the years according to the policy of openness, frankness, and honesty. Okay. Only parents can provide this lifetime training. That does not mean that schools and other organizations cannot do that, but I'm sure you don't want other people to help you train your children. Non-formal educational programs outside the home can provide answers to needed information cannot provide answers to the needed information our kids need about sensitive issues of life. A gradual enlightenment begins during childhood and reaches to preschool age. Okay, so we don't want the society to tell our children what to do. We don't want organizations and schools to be telling our children what to do. Though these days, a lot of people have they have relinquished their responsibilities to all these organizations, the school, the society, NGOs, and all that. It is our duty as parents to perform this duty, to this act of training with our children. What should a child know about sex? For families with firm conviction about moral behavior, an acceptable sex education program must consist of two elements. First, the physiology of reproduction should be taught. Basic anatomy of the human body should be presented, as well as the mechanics of sexual behavior in marriage. What do I mean by this? A child should be able to differentiate between a girl, for example, should be able to differentiate between the area, the urinary area, and the vagina. They should know the difference. These days there are lots of abuse going on and all that. So we need our children, no matter as soon as they start speaking, let them know the difference. There is an area where you keep, there is an area called vagina. They should know. So that when the time comes for them to identify, God forbid, that any of our children will be abused, they will be able to tell you the difference, or they will be able to speak, communicate clearly of what is happening to them. Okay, a female child should know that she has a vagina, a boy has a penis. Okay, permit me to use these words because they are very important. Okay, so we should allow these children to know. We should allow them to know sensitive areas in their body that people shouldn't touch and they shouldn't play with. Okay, like their lips, their breasts, their armpits, sensitive areas, their private parts. We should allow them to know all these things. They shouldn't be playing with all these things so that when the time comes, there won't be any mistake, or when they are being abused, they will not think it is normal because they've been playing with it. We should make them know this. Okay, the second critical element involves the obligation to teach moral attitudes and responsibilities related to sex. Okay, I also talked about sexual behavior in marriage. It's quite difficult. How do you explain sexual behavior in marriage to children? But it's actually necessary for us to do that. Okay, we need to, how do I put it now? We need to brace up, we need to be bold, we need to be courageous in doing this so that we will not, we need to tell them so that they won't go and learn it outside. Because sometimes when children learn some things outside, it's the negative aspect of it that they learn. So we need to let them know what they need to know. Now, all this information is not complete because without us teaching them the moral obligations, attitude, and responsibilities related to sex, these components should never be separated as long as the issue of morality is considered important. Sexual sophistication without sexual responsibility is a sexual disaster. So we need to let them know that all these things can only be done within the confines of marriage. To explain all the mechanics of reproduction without teaching the proper attitude and controls is like giving the child a loaded gun without showing him how to use it. And of course, the child will use it anyhow. Adolescents mature sexually at least 5 years before they reach emotional maturity. Thus, most teenagers wouldn't know a meaningful relationship when they are faced with one. So we need to know that even though the child has all it takes as an adult, especially for girls, it does not mean that they're emotionally ready or responsible. So we should make our children realize that they are not ready for relationship at that period. Because I have a teens organization I work with, and they ask us this question. And so many of them are eager to go into relationship at this stage. But so many times I ask them the question, how many of you are ready to father a child? How many of you are ready to be mothers now? If you are not ready, why go into a relationship at that age? Okay, so it won't hurt when you focus on something that is more meaningful than talking about the focusing on. So we should make them realize that at that point in their life, though it is not wrong to be in a relationship, it is not yet time. There is always a time for everything. Please note, premature instruction could involve threats overstimulation and full sophistication too early. So when we are giving our children information about sex education, we don't give them all at once. We give them as they are ready. Childhood should be devoted to childish interests and not adult pleasures. The amount of information a child should be given should coincide with the social and physical requirements for that awareness. No matter how we feel, oh, the child should know all these things, we still need to be giving them in depth. But in all that we do, we should make sure that before they get to the age of the teen age, they should know all they need to know about sex. The child's request for information provides the best guide to his readiness for sex education. Parents should plan to end the instructional program immediately before the child enters puberty, between 10 to 17 years for girls, between the 12 to 19 for boys. Once they enter the developmental period, they are typically embarrassed by discussion of sex with their parents. You know, this is the time they start to bud, they start to show some signs of adults. And these are the times, this is not the time to start talking to them about it. We should try and do that earlier. I will conclude with this. Child training begins from us parents. We have made mistakes due to ignorance, things that we won't want to recreate in our children. We can't reverse them. What we have done, we can't reverse them. We can only make amends to our future by instilling proper attitudes in our children. No one can expect to do everything right. Few errors we have made in the past cannot destroy a child's life, but consistent influence of conditions throughout childhood can. So that is where our focus should be. What we are doing now, how it is affecting the child. What we do and how we do it is all that our kids are seeing. And that is what they will do more importantly than what we have done and what we are saying. So whatever it is that we are doing now and what we are saying, what we are doing now is what they are seeing. How our attitude to things, our reaction to things are the things that they are seeing. What we have done before and what we are saying does not really count. Your attitude to life now matters more in bringing up a child than what has been. What, as parents, we are supposed to be major influencers in our kids' lives. But in reality, some of us parents just provide material things. Teach and train a child in the way he should go by setting the example in their personal lives. The child treads in their footsteps. So when we fail to discipline ourselves, then our children's life, life will do it for us. And it's harsher when the life does it for us. So we need to do that so that life will not be, the consequences from life experience will not be our children's experience. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Imatelco.
Wow.
Imatelco.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká fún látẹ̀wọ̀.
Imatelco.
Oh, thank you so
much. Okay, any questions?
I have a question, ma'am.
I have a comment.
Sir.
I have a
Let's
well,
yes, sir. I can see so.
I have a comment.
I'm listening. Yes, sir.
I don't know. I want to thank Bunmi. Seriously, what you are doing for us, only God can pay you. And I pray that God gives you replenishing foods where this is coming from. You have added value. Seriously, you have added value. I know how much people pay for this kind of training.
Yeah.
I know how important what you have been discussing with us over the last 2 months, how important it is in the life of people who are parents, either parenting their biological children or their adopted kids. I know how important what you are doing is in the life of the country, because the country in itself is not the land space. It is the collection of people and that are in the country. And what people have said, the quality of people in the country reflects in the quality of governance. So what you are doing is not just important for us as parents, it's important for us as countries. when I say countries, because I know that within us, we are not just Nigerians. We have Americans and we have Nigerians. So I personally want to thank you. What you are doing is very good. Just like other people who have also lectured us. I mean, we are getting for free what people pay hundreds of thousands to get. And I think it is the onus lie on us as people who want the better for our friends and our old classmates to spread the word around. It would have been almost unbearable for me to make this kind of lecture. I know, so please, I have questions that I cannot ask here. I will call you privately. I know we have to.
We are all adults, so you can go ahead and ask.
So do you want?
Don't worry.
Yes.
I can't
ask your question.
I mean,
ask your question.
It's a half question, half comment.
The people I want to examine are here. So if you are, I don't want to be giving them expo.
So well, for the first time, I actually learned that there's a difference between discipline and punishment.
Yeah.
So So I agree with you, because the first lecture, when you said when the Bible says spare the rod and spoil the child, it was referring to discipline. I agree now, because not coming punishments, but yes, we can achieve discipline without necessarily caning. So thank you for that. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Welcome.
Any more questions?
Meanwhile, Shaky, stop live stream.
Yes, stop live stream.
Okay.
Stop live stream.
Stop live stream.
Before we start live stream.
Thank you.
Seriously.